Someone would like to know what's happening with the second crossing in Fenelon Falls.
Second crossing, they've had some public meetings about it. They've brought forward, our consultant has to do an environmental assessment on the different options. Whether we go that route or not, it has to be done to rule them out if for no other reason. The second crossing, it looks like one of the preferred choices is an alternate route, not necessarily a crossing. The Battle Road, I think, is concession 3, is what they're looking at as an alternate route to try and reroute some of the traffic, heavy trucks, around Fenelon Falls. We would certainly want to do some improvements to the bridge, maybe a little bit of widening or something at the same time. There's some structural, or they're doing a review of the structural issues there, so that would be the time to do it. Hopefully when we revitalize the whole downtown area in Fenelon Falls. But I think right now we're not necessarily looking for various reasons, cost being a big one, at another bridge crossing in the Fenelon Falls area right now. But the process isn't over yet, so I might be speaking a little bit ahead of myself, but it needs to be looked at, but all the public input and cost have to be part of that conversation, and so far I know they've come up with a couple options, and I think they're looking at the alternate route around Fenelon at this time.
Okay. Someone else would like to know if the Municipal Law Enforcement Office has either moved or it is moving, or?
It has moved.
It has moved.
Yeah, they're over on Lindsay Street. There's a building, I don't know the exact address, but just at the south end of Lindsay Street, about a block south, just by Russell, south of Russell Street. There's a building there where we used to have our Housing Help Center. We used to lease a brand new building that was built there, and they're now down at 68 Lindsay Street in our new facility. So our bylaw department is moving from 180 Kent over there. They're there. That was their plan at the end of 2019.
The old Lindsay Town Hall.
The old Lindsay Town Hall.
Yeah.
So they're over there now, and people they got a nice counter, good setup there, a little bit more space.
Okay. Heather wonders if we need a roundabout at Elm Tree Road in Little Britain due to the increased traffic. What do you think about roundabouts or there?
I love roundabouts, so I like where Heather's coming from. I'm not sure some of our residents are fans of roundabouts. We've had those discussions before, and we tend to get a little bit of, what were you thinking when we have that discussion? I think they're very effective at keeping traffic flowing. I don't know particularly that location, if that would be the first choice. I know at one time we looked at one at the corner of Victoria and Kent Street to just try to, flow the traffic, slow it down before it enters the downtown area. But it becomes a property issue, and who owns the property around it? Is there enough space? Can you do it safely? Some of the new areas, I know the new subdivision in Colburn Street West, the new property there where, the commercial and the housing developments are going across from Wilson Fields. One of the options they're looking at one of their interior intersections is a roundabout. So I think you'll see more and more of them coming forward. We don't have any in the plan right now of any existing intersections. But certainly something that a lot of municipalities do utilize. It's just it's something different. People have to get used to it, and we have a lot of people struggle with driving on our roads as they are. So putting a roundabout in place would certainly be a challenge for some, but probably something that should be looked at.
Zach says, considering the city has not officially commented on the Ross Memorial Hospital Special Act, for which Councillor Ron Ashmore sits on the board.
Yep.
What is the position of the city in regards to the act? Do we have one yet?
We don't. We're letting the hospital, things change, at the hospital. The acts change. I know this act was put in place. I don't know all the details on it at this point. It was put in place many, many years ago for various reasons. The hospital seems to be managing just fine. So I know Zach has a very different opinion on that. I've heard from Zach about it, but the hospital is quite capable of managing their business, and they have been for quite a while. They're looking at the province at getting authority to change the act a little bit as their business model changes. We are in favor of working with the hospital to ensure that hospital stays in our community and services our residents, and they've assured us that they have no goals to do anything but that. It's in all our best interest as a community. When people talk about moving to our community, one of the first conversations that I hear from people is the availability of a hospital. So, whether it's with this act or with something else, the Ross Memorial Hospital is a huge part of our community.
Rhonda asks, has Lindsay drinking water been tested for lead levels by the municipality? probably in response to some of the things we've heard about schools lately.
Yeah, we've had that's a tougher question. They tested many years ago, and there's nothing that had come up at the time. I know we got a little briefing from our water wastewater person about it when the question came up, when the article came out in the Toronto Star, I think it was. We have some cast iron water mains, around that are being replaced. We periodically test to see if there's any kind of lead, in the water that's popping up. We're good. We're pretty good right now. Some of the bigger issues that come up are some of the older homes around town where the water enters the house. Mm-hmm. Some of the systems have, old pipes, and the possibility of lead contamination is more so at the house level, at the house specific level, than at our water and wastewater systems or our pipes. I mean, we got a grant from the government to replace all our cast iron water mains. That's a big part of it. That's why you see a lot of the work in Lindsay that we're doing right now is digging up infrastructure, modernizing all that. It's ongoing, but I have heard of no issues. We periodically test. I mean, safe drinking water is a huge issue for many across the municipality, and I think honestly, this one was blown a little bit out of proportion and scared some people when that article came out. If they're in doubt, they should have a plumber, come in and do some tests in their, especially some of the older homes. Right. Not going to be an issue in any newer homes, but if they've got some concerns, then do it at the source, and we'll look after it at our end, and they look after it at their end, and everybody should be good to go.
I imagine water is tested all the time for safety levels. Why not test lead regularly then? Why
yeah,
not?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
It's just it's a criteria about some of the tests that we do. It's what's mandated, what's not mandated, and I don't know if it's a cost factor that you have to specifically test. I don't have enough information to qualify that comment, but I know our water right now is pretty good to go.
All right. Sean would like to know, what is the city doing to ensure that all new private and public buildings are built net zero as required in a climate emergency world?
Yeah, well, you know what, it's a good question, and we, a good example is the 68 Lindsay Street housing complex with our office space that we built down there. That's the last building that the city built. Okay. It is very close to a net zero building. It's generating as much energy as it utilizes. So that's the definition of, from a carbon footprint point of view, of a net zero. So it certainly meets that criteria. We got some grants from different levels of government to help us do that. Development at that can be quite costly when we go that route. There's always the comment, well, the cost of doing nothing is going to be much more down the road, and I totally get that. Yep. So wherever possible, whenever we can, we are looking at any kind of expansion or renovation, doing exactly what we did down there, which is as close to a net zero as we can get.